You're listening to Miss Style, Strength, and Grace with Deidra Murphy. This is your one-stop shop for style, fashion, health, and fitness. Deidra's passion is to help empower women to reach their fullest potential, both inside and out. Deidra and her guests will be discussing how to develop your style, health, and lifestyle hacks to energize your day and inspire you to keep reaching higher levels of success. Deidra is a professional fashion stylist, health guru, and Mrs. Washington 2017. It's time to get open and honest with Deidra.
Well, hello and welcome, ladies of the Miss Style, Strength, and Grace podcast. Today, I am sharing an interview with a guest actually from the other side of the country, down south. Her name is Devoreaux Walton, and she's an author and confidence coach. She serves as the CEO and founder at The Modern Lady, a lifestyle company that educates and empowers women to live their best lives. Walton and her team teach women worldwide how to elevate their lives with excellence, and elegance, helping them to unlock and unleash their feminine power through coaching, courses, community. And Walton truly knows the power that mindset has through charisma and wardrobe, and helps teach timeless life principles for other women that want to upgrade their essence of their chic selves to truly thrive. She is a graduate of Spelman College with a bachelor's degree in psychology and a Washington University in St. Louis graduate with a master's degree in business administration. Walton is candid about sharing lessons learned from her corporate career at Google and IBM to inform and inspire her clients. She's a Southern belle from Atlanta, Georgia, and she currently resides in Dallas, Texas with her multi-poo daughter, Nyla. I would love to meet her. Now, I feel like Devoreaux and I are kind of true soul sisters and style gal pals, and doing a little bit of research about her and hearing her powerful message about other women, and her mission of helping inspire other women to feel elegant, modern, and confident. It truly feels like our messages coincide, and that rings true to me. And so I hope it will ring true to you as a listener today on your journey. So without further ado, let's welcome Devoreaux to the podcast. Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction, and thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm excited to have you here. So let's dive in. Why don't you give my listeners a little glimpse into who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I love to start with just a quick story of how the modern to be. So I was in high school when I decided that I loved fashion so much I wanted to pursue it for my career. And so, being a daddy's girl, we had a trip to Los Angeles from Atlanta, and I actually took a tour at FIDM, Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising. And after that tour, I fell in love with the school. I was like, this is the career for me. And my dad was like, fashion's not a real career. Try again, at least if you want me to help you pay for it.
Oh my gosh, it sounds so similar to my story, but go on.
So I ended up pursuing a corporate career in marketing, which is not at all fashion, retail, but it is similar in the aspects of branding and image and presentation and strategy. And so I pursued undergraduate and graduate degrees, was working in a marketing agency, and I really just got to a point where I felt like I was stuck in a rut in my life. I wanted to be the woman in the room that really commanded and captivated with her presence. And I just wanted to upgrade and elevate who I was and be the woman that I wanted to be. There was a disconnect between the charming and confident woman I wanted to be and who I was. And so I went on a journey that included hiring and working with coaches, lots and lots of research, certification programs, and that really led me to uncovering all of these timeless lifestyle principles of just how to carry yourself with elegance. Some of my favorite sheroes are certainly Jacqueline Kennedy and Michelle Obama, and I was just wondering how I could capture that in times. And so along the way, after I made my transformation, I started blogging and just sharing different pieces of insight and different pieces of advice. And I found that women were similar to where I was before my transformation. They wanted to really step into their feminine power. And so the Modern Lady was born really from the need for women to really just understand how to navigate stepping into who they could fully become, honestly, by just unlocking and unleashing their best selves. And so what I do is work with women on their mindset, their wardrobe, and their presence to make sure they are captivating and compelling every single day, not just in certain situations or with certain social circles, but having that consistent level.
Sorry, you cut out there for a moment. That consistent level of what?
The consistent level of elegance in their lives.
Yes, no, I love that. Our messages are super aligned. And it's funny because I went down that similar path of like, I'm going to go to art school. I'm going to major as a fashion designer. And my parents were like, that's not a real job. Why don't you go into something else? And so I completely changed my decisions and went to a different school and ended up getting my bachelor's in education. And I felt the same way. Like you're sitting in that corporate situation or that more, business life and you're going, this is not who I want to be. And that's definitely the message I help empower other women too. And I say those same phrases like step into that authority, step in the role that you want to portray to the world. So I'm just super happy to have you on the podcast today. And I wanted to ask, in our world, I feel like we keep going more and more casual and honestly into like sloppy tendencies, especially as we just get told, oh, it doesn't matter. What are some ways that women can still feel elegant even if she needs to live a more casual life? Not just like in her style, but in her way that she carries herself, the having that air of elegance.
I love that question, and it is a very casual society, which is such a alarming need, really, for what we both do, Deidra. So, in terms of everyday elegance, there's a couple of ways you can effectively do that. I would certainly say that your mindset has a lot to do with how you carry yourself in your presence, because quite honestly, your thoughts, they really do motivate and impact every other area in your life with your actions and your words. It's all based on things that you were thinking first. So being able to cultivate an elegant mindset is really going to be centered around a couple of things. One of those is optimism and just being able to, even though there are different conflicts, there are different challenges in life, really face a situation and look for the good. It's what, used to be called the silver lining. So how can you find good elements in any situation despite the challenge or circumstance? Another part of that is gratitude. So cultivating an elegant mindset really focuses on the good things that you have, the things that are going right in a situation rather than the things that are going wrong. And it's so easy for us to get caught up in what is not according to plan, what has just fallen through the cracks, what we don't like about a situation. But when you have a heart of gratitude, everything else in your life will be elevated because you're focusing on those good, positive elements, the blessings that you have, regardless of what they are. And really just being able to be grateful for how far you've come and for what you do have rather than focusing on what you don't have. So for, any woman listening that's maybe frustrated with her career or her love life or any area of your life, I would really encourage you to start doing what you can to cultivate that elegant mindset just by focusing on those positive elements and being able to carry yourself with a heart of gratitude, because quite honestly, it's going to make a world of difference in how you feel internally, and then that's going to be exuded externally through your actions and your words.
That's so important. I'm like, we can just end the podcast right there. No, I'm just kidding. It's funny because I I wouldn't say recorded because I launched it a couple weeks ago, but I just launched a podcast a few weeks ago, and it was the things that I encourage other women to do every single day, habits wise, that helps change the trajectory of her life. And one of the things is I talk about journaling and being gratitude, or being in a state of gratitude, and continuing to have that practice every single day, because what you appreciates. So the more you live in a state of gratitude, the more you can have more things to be thankful for. And quite honestly, if you live in that state of a grateful heart, there's really nothing that can throw you off your game in life.
Exactly. You have the power, you have the authority when you're focusing on those things that are going very well. You're carrying yourself with that level of, it's just the simple fact of being thankful for what you do have, focusing on that, laser focusing on that is going to improve everything else in your life, hands down.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and that's part of the practices and habits that I encourage women to do every single day. So what are some of the daily success habits that you would encourage other women to start incorporate into their daily lives?
Yes, I love that question because gratitude journaling is so important, and that's a daily practice I certainly recommend as well. There are two other things I would highly recommend, and one of them is to ask yourself the elegant mindset question, which is, what is the good in this situation? And I've worked with clients before that have really challenged me on this. It's been really fun to help them expand their minds, because you can always ask yourself the elegant mindset question of, what is the good in this situation? Despite whatever the circumstance or catastrophe, there's always a good element in a situation. So it's just about being able to find it. So as an example, last year in April, I got into a car accident. I was driving to see a client, and I was going straight through a green light. There was another car that ran a red light and hit me as a collision in the middle of the intersection. So I had to ask myself, what is the good in this situation? And there were quite a few answers I could come up with. I wasn't injured. My airbag didn't deploy. I had 3 witnesses at the site of the accident that gave me their contact information and contributed to the police report and the insurance claim, and I wasn't at fault. So at the end of the day, having a car accident is obviously an inconvenience, but I wasn't harmed, I wasn't hurt, and I had to really focus on how I could find the good elements in that situation in order to maintain my level of elegance with my mindset. Now, the second thing I'd recommend is to, every evening before going to bed, reflect on how your day went and things that you said, things that you did, and just pause for a moment and have a couple of minutes to yourself. It's like nightly me time to really think about checking in to make sure that your actions and your words aligned with your intentions. For many women who want to carry themselves with elegance, they want to be women of character and be captivating and charismatic. Sometimes the actions and the words that you are saying and doing don't match up with that intention. But the easiest way to start forming a new lifestyle with new habits is to identify when you've been off the mark. So once you can identify, maybe at the end of the evening, something you said or did, maybe at work with your direct report, or at a junior league meeting with another committee member, when you can identify the areas and the situations where you could have done better, that gives you an opportunity to improve for the next time. So it's about making those small incremental changes as you step into that level of daily elegance.
Oh, so true. It's funny, my husband and I do a similar act together. We do it together at night, and we call it our wins for the day, and we reflect on, what are some areas that we needed to improve upon, but at the end of the day, where are the areas that we felt like we measured up or hit the goals that we wanted to hit for the day, or the things that we accomplished that day. So I love that. And it's interesting, you talked about your car accident, and not only did you learn from that situation and did you grow as a person, but I'm 100% sure that the person that was unfortunately at fault for the accident probably learned and grew from that instance as well. So maybe they've learned to be a better, more conscientious driver, or to pay attention more, and to, maybe slow down on the things that they're doing every day. And it so reminds me of, you'll probably know who I'm talking about because being from the great state of Texas down there, but Pastor Joel Osteen. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he talks about being and seeing things in a way of a victor instead of a victim.
Absolutely. Yes, he's based in Houston, and I'm a big fan.
I thought you might be.
Yes, it's so powerful. And see, that's the thing. The real key to unlocking a life with elegance is to understand that first and foremost, it's all about perspective. You can always, when you're approaching a situation, you have so many choices and so many options of how you're going to respond, react, or even just absorb and take in the situation. But when you make the choice to be positive, to be optimistic, to look for the good things, then you'll be really setting yourself up for success for the rest of your day ahead, and even the rest of your life, personally and professionally.
That's so good. I was definitely kind of stalking you on YouTube a little bit, and I loved that one of your videos was all about how to gracefully respond to a compliment. And that is something I teach and work with my clients on, both one-on-one and virtually. And I call it not stomping on the roses. So the way I heard about it was my pastor said, when your husband or somebody brings you the gift of roses via a verbal compliment, don't take those roses and stomp them on the ground when they say, like, oh, you look great today. Don't say, oh, this whole thing, or, oh, I didn't even have time to get ready. That's stomping on their roses. So what are the tips that you have for responding to a compliment with grace?
Yes, and this is such a huge area for women to improve upon. We all can improve upon this, and so I love that question. Honestly, when you're in a situation when someone gives you a compliment, the very best thing you can do is to say thank you with a gracious smile. Now, for a lot of women, your first initial reaction is to say something to counter or to discard or demean the compliment. And it's not out of being rude. It's probably just because as women in general, a lot of times we don't like to take credit or even accept, praise or celebration. So typically, in those situations when someone has given you a compliment, whether it's about your appearance, your work, or anything under the sun, the best thing you can do is to smile, to give yourself 2 or 3 seconds to collect yourself and really gather your thoughts, and then respond and reply with thank you so much. You can even respond appropriately to the compliment based on what was mentioned. If a compliment was about, for example, maybe a report, you can respond to that compliment. Thank you so much. Oh, I used this new database that just got released to create the report. You can always add more to respond and start that conversation. So I think of conversations as like a little tennis match, like the tennis ball goes over the net to each side. And so after receiving a compliment, you can keep the conversation going if you're comfortable doing that, or you can just graciously smile and say thank you. And you have the option to compliment someone else. So this works particularly well when it's about your appearance or something non-work related, something personal. You can compliment something that you enjoy or admire about the other person. When someone says, I love your shoes, you can say, thank you so much. They're my favorite color. Oh my goodness, your earrings are beautiful. And so that will keep the conversation flowing. And, for some women, they don't like or are uncomfortable with compliments because it's so much attention placed on them when they don't necessarily want it. So when you give another person a compliment, they are more likely to continue maybe talking about themselves, which for a lot of women I work with, they are introverts. They're shy. So they enjoy for someone else to be talking and for them to listen rather than for them to talk and really lead that conversation.
So true, so true. And I always encourage women, if they do decide to go ahead and respond back with a compliment, to make sure that it is genuine and it is something they truly appreciate about either that other person's appearance or something that they appreciate about that other woman. I always think of that scene on the movie Mean Girls when the main character compliments another girl in a high school, and it's totally fake. So she says something along the lines of, "Oh my gosh, I love your skirt." And the girl responds with, "Oh, thanks, it's vintage. It was my mom's in the 80s." And then the girl leaves, and the mean girl says, "Oh, that skirt is the ugliest thing I've ever seen." So obviously that is not the way to go about it. So I like what you said about like making sure that it's still genuine at the same time.
Yes, it's so important. And I think that's a huge cornerstone of elegant communication, to be authentic. In 2019, we see so many displays of superficial words and superficial situations, and it's very easy to spot a fake, whether it's something that someone is saying or doing. So it's much more beneficial. You'll feel better too when you're authentic.
Absolutely. So some of your clients and even my listeners might be saying, well, that's great to talk about elegance and all these wonderful things, but I am retired from work, so I don't have to be elegant every day when I dress up, that kind of mentality. So how would you encourage those women as they enter maybe a new season of life? Maybe they're retiring now. As they go into this new season, what tips would you give them to still feel kind of classy and chic, but maybe a little bit more casual?
Yeah, and I think when it comes to elegance, I love talking about how it's not just an appearance. And quite honestly, one of my favorite quotes is from Chanel, which is also one of my favorite brands. That elegance is when the inside is as beautiful as the outside. So it's truly about cultivating that mindset and being able to really live out the principles of being gracious, being humble, being kind. Courtesy is something that's never going to go out of style. And that's why I call what I do, I classify it as a timeless life principle, because quite honestly, no one will ever discount or dismiss someone being kind. In fact, we should all strive to be a bit more kind in the world that we live in that's so fast paced and very abrupt. So it's really about carrying yourself with that level of owning who you are, being confident in who you are, and being comfortable to share that with others. And when you are able to do that through the perspective of applying kindness and courtesy, it's not about being a doormat or letting someone take advantage of you. It's truly about you living on a higher level to enjoy a refined lifestyle. So for women that don't go to work, they have errands, they may have social events or social groups or organizations that they are active in. So it's really not just about how you are thinking and carrying yourself throughout the day, but it's also how you're acting and interacting with others. And I can tell you, when you're living in elegance, you're driving in that lane, there are opportunities that will truly open up to you that you probably never dreamed or even expected. Just because people, they honor, they admire, and they really respect, being treated with kindness and courtesy. Whether or not someone ever will express their gratitude to you for being so kind and nice, it's something that they will take notice of, because so many people are not doing it. It's not the norm. So, I call them winning moments. But during the day, in your regular everyday lifestyle, you'll have winning moments. And just from being kind to people, you will have more of them. So an example of a winning moment is I go to Starbucks and I get my chai latte because I love chai so much. And the barista says, "Here, I want to give you a free croissant." And it's not because I'm a gold member or I have points, but they're just being kind. They're just being nice. Or I, go shopping at Sephora and I get extra free samples that I didn't ask for, but just because I was nice to the cashier and I actually treated her like a human and not just like someone ringing up my merchandise. So there are so many ways to really enjoy a life with elegance, not just in your appearance and how you look. That's certainly a huge part of that because there's a lot of psychology around look good, feel good, but there's so much more to the life of elegance through your interactions with others. And we're all relational beings. So at the end of the day, you're interacting with people at work, at home, and your life will be much more enriched when you're able to enjoy your interactions with others.
So true. And I think it's really key and important to, like you said, focus on that interaction with others, because so many times, especially in our busy culture, our culture of constantly being connected via devices, we sometimes lose that ability to communicate with those around us. There's so many times where I'm just maybe checking out at the grocery store or, like you said, at Sephora, and the people in line are still just on their phone the whole time, and they're not interacting with that few seconds that they have with the woman checking them out, the cashier's register or whatnot, and they lose that ability to connect with those around them. So I think that's such a great example of how you can still, in those small moments, connect as human beings rather than just seeing it as an opportunity to catch up on your social media feed on Facebook while you're waiting in line. Like, use those little opportunities to stay in a state of graciousness and elegance while you're interacting with those around you.
Definitely. And there's one thing that I love to tell women, that the goal of an elegant life when it comes to your interactions, the goal is for you to leave people better than how you found them. However you can do that. If it's a smile, if it's a hug, if it's an encouraging word, if it's a compliment. We don't know what other people are going through. Of course, your friends and family, but even coworkers. You don't know if someone has a death in the family, or they're struggling in their marriage or in their finances. And if we could all just do one thing each day to encourage or enlighten someone else's life, I honestly think this world would be a better place. So the goal is to leave people better than the way you found them. When you can do that, that's when you're truly living out elegance.
I love that. And that may be, I mean, I might be wrong, but that may be the answer to my next question. But my next question is, if you had a sign or a major billboard that you could leave one message that would reach every woman, what would that say?
Wow, that's a good question. I would probably say, be you. Just be you. I think there's a lot of women that feel the need to be someone they're not because of what they see in the media, because of what they see on social media, in movies, on TV, whether it's peers, like a neighbor within the neighborhood that has the perfect looking Instagram nursery photos, or watching movies and looking at magazines and thinking that these women look so flawless in their outfits and designer clothing. I think there's a really big need for women to embrace authenticity, because once you do that, you really step into your feminine power. Confidence, everything else falls into place, but you have to have authenticity first. The only way to really step into who you are as a woman is to know yourself. So that level of self-love, it has to be there. And then you can certainly embrace life with authenticity.
So true. I say this in some of my presentations, that there's nothing as powerful as a woman that not only knows herself, but then also loves herself. So powerful. So I'm just curious, what does a typical day look like for you? And share kind of your habits that you have on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's a great question. And no 2 days are the same, that's for sure. So for example, I will wake up around 5:30. I love morning workouts, so that's the first thing I'm doing is getting some cardio, weight training in. I really enjoy that. And then after a shower, as I'm eating breakfast, I do my prayer time. So I have a daily devotional that I do before I complete my gratitude journaling. And then after I finish breakfast, I'm a type A. So I always have to wash dishes. I don't like dishes being around, cluttering up the kitchen. So I clean everything up and typically start to do some emails for about 30 minutes just to check and see if I got anything urgent, any pressing needs or questions from clients. And then I work on client work for about 3 hours before lunch, working on different presentations, working on proposals, working on different assets for my clients. And then I take a break for lunch. Sometimes I'll have a working lunch where I'm on a call or I attend a meeting. There's several women's professional networking associations in Dallas that do have meetings over lunch, and so I may attend one of those. And then by the time I get back home around maybe 1:30, 2 o'clock, I am really just working on some of my marketing. So I'm working with my assistant to look at our production schedule for the YouTube channel. Right now, we are sharing videos 3 times a week. And so I work on that. Any other marketing campaigns around advertising, and I spend usually 30 minutes in the Modern Ladies Society, which is an online community of my audience. And so typically after I'm finished with all of those marketing activities, I have an afternoon snack. And if the weather is really nice, which it has been in Dallas lately, my multi-poo daughter and I will go on a walk for about 30, 40 minutes or so just to get some fresh air. And usually I need a break mentally. So we enjoy a walk. I come back home, and so typically when we get back from a walk, it's around maybe 4:30, 5 o'clock, and I have usually different events I'm attending in the evenings, whether it's networking. I also volunteer with Dress for Success Dallas. So typically my evenings are filled with events. I'll get home around 7:30, enjoy a dinner, and sometimes I can definitely be guilty of falling into the always working trap. So I will work after dinner if I'm not spending time with my boyfriend. And then around maybe 9 o'clock or so, 8:30, 9 o'clock, have a cutoff to just really enjoy relaxing. And so I certainly think self-care is very important. And one thing I love to do in the evenings is read. Right now I'm enjoying Presence by Dr. Amy Cuddy. It's a wonderful book about social psychology, and she's sharing some really amazing insight there. So, Deidra, every day is a little bit different, but, I certainly like to make sure I have my elements of gratitude journaling, exercise, daily devotion, early in the mornings to really set the tone for the rest of my day ahead.
That sounds so similar to what I do too. I mean, my practice is actually reverse. I do my gratitude, my journaling, and then I get in my workout, but definitely it doesn't matter which way you do it as long as you're getting it in, right?
Absolutely. And the consistency is key. Even on days when you don't feel like doing it, just making the effort to put that time in, it really sets you up for success.
So true. So I'm going to end with my last question that I ask all of my guests, and it's very open to interpretation, but what does it mean to do things with style and grace to Devoreaux?
Wow, that's a great question. I think style and grace is really about being intentional in what you're doing and how you're living your life. So I love the power of intention rather than just putting on the first thing you find in your closet, whether it's dirty or clean, ironed or wrinkled, thinking before you speak so that you're not just harshly or abruptly reacting, and being just really careful and thoughtful in how you are presenting yourself and carrying yourself with others. I think living with intention means that you are living with style and grace, and that's honestly the most refined way to be.
So true. And I always tell that to my clients too, like especially when it comes down to picking out their outfits, is dressing with intention. So I love that you used that word. And my listeners, if they're into stalking in the healthiest way possible, of course, where can they find you and stalk you?
Absolutely. So everything you can find about me is at themodernlady.com. My YouTube channel is just called The Modern Lady, so you'll find it there. And I do have an upcoming book to be released in March titled Je ne sais quoi, which you can learn more about at themodernlady.com.
Oh, so awesome. And then what about like Instagram or Facebook? Are you on either of those?
Yes, Instagram and Twitter. I am Devoreaux Walton, so it's a weird spelling, but I'm sure Deidra will put it in the show notes. And then on Pinterest, I'm Devoreaux Walton as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast, and I enjoyed learning from you as well.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure.
Hey ladies, thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoyed today's episode. To help empower more women, please be a doll and rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. For show notes and other free resources we mentioned today, go to StyleByDeidra.com.